Yeah, so maybe we should take a step back, and so what I want to ask you now is the root of the right to self-defense. Why do we have this right?
Yeah, I think this is a really important question because it cuts to the core of the philosophical issue here that is at stake. And it's an issue that really comes to the surface on this topic more than it does in many others. The basic conflict in moral philosophy is the question of whether morality is essentially about service to other people. That's the altruistic view, or whether morality is in fact about the pursuit of one's own happiness, what we call ethical egoism. Of course, Ayn Rand's philosophy is that the conventional altruistic view, which is held by almost everybody, is wrong, that it has no rational basis, that no earthly reason has ever been given for the idea that you should sacrifice your interests for others, and that that's what morality, that's what moral obligation consists in. Uh, there's no good reason that's ever been given for it, but because of Judeo-Christian morality, it has become the popular conventional view. And what's interesting about the right to self-defense is that it is such an obviously egoistic right. If you think, I have one and only life, this life is mine to live, I shouldn't give it up because somebody is coming at me with a gun. That's an egoistic idea. And if you think you have a moral right to defend your life, you've got an implicitly egoistic premise there. And I think what's interesting is lots of people do recognize that there is a right to self-defense. Lots of people do think on some level that their life is their own, that they shouldn't give it up for others, especially when it's literal life and death. And when we're talking about self-defense, we are talking about literal life and death. So I think on some level, most people see egoism is correct, especially with regard to this right. The trouble is when you get into these situations where other people get caught in the crossfire, and even if in other circumstances someone would say, yeah, I have the right to kill somebody who's trying to kill me, and they have that view on egoistic premises, their old Judeo-Christian altruism sneaks back in, and they start to ask questions about this premise. They start to feel guilty. They start to say, well, gee, maybe I should sacrifice my life for these innocent people who might get caught in the crossfire. And so this is why it is so important to get explicit on the issue of the morality of egoism, on the idea that morality is fundamentally about figuring out what are the best means to the end of sustaining your life. Life is a conditional and goal-directed process. It doesn't live itself for you. You have to make decisions. You need a code of values and virtues by which to live it. That's what morality is really all about. And it's because your life is your ultimate value. And that's something that comes out most clearly in this case of the right to self-defense. There just is no reason why your life is worth less than the aggressor who's trying to take it. But by the same token, there's no reason that it's worth less than some innocent person that he's put in the crossfire. And if you especially bring into consideration the point I mentioned before, that you can see that that still is a tragic and unjust death, but the fault of the aggressor, then the egoistic premise here can be really held consistently, and I think should.